You sent us some questions. We're going to try and give you some answers to those questions. If you've not already done so on this channel, you can like, you can comment, and you can subscribe if you've not already done it. So I've got some scraps of paper here with some questions on that some of our viewers have sent to us. Thank you for the people that have sent the questions in and have contributed to a Q&A session. So, the first question is really going to be for Sandra. I will contribute to this, so most of these are going to have a bit of a Sandra comment and a my comment. So, Killer Dave, who helped transport a Luton van load of our belongings from Manchester to Lincolnshire, he saw some of the things that came from Manchester to Lincolnshire, and his question is how many buckets, now back in Manchester, Sandra had a fantastic collection of buckets, and canes does Sandra own?
Well, the short answer is I don't, because it's our stuff, not my stuff as such. I mean, I mean the whole bucket thing, I don't know, that was a Neil thing, to be quite honest. I don't know what it was all about. It really was. It really was.
So
I think that he was always hiding stuff, which was one issue. So you're like, okay, where's the bucket? Need to wash the car. I can't find a bucket anywhere, so get a bucket, and then the other bucket would turn up from wherever he'd hidden it. And then there was just one time, there's like, we were out and about, and there's like abandoned a couple of like really, really good, perfectly usable buckets just going on the tip basically. So we might as well keep them. He's like, why have you got all your buckets? Being very Neil about it all. And then I'm sure it was before we even moved here, I got rid of all the buckets pretty much. So I'm not quite sure what like, so in fact, literally you said to me last week, I need a bucket, where's a bucket? So we can't have that many buckets, but I don't go around counting buckets because I'm not really very interested in buckets. And then the canes, as many as I needed to prop up my plants really, so not honestly that many. And ironically, as I think you kind of know, Dave, like even Neil went out and bought a load of canes this year because he's decided to grow sunflowers this year. But for some reason, when I wanted to grow tall things like runner beans and tomatoes and all the things that need a bit of support, like cucumbers, that kind of thing, he's like, oh, why have you got all them canes? Grumble. So it's like, sorry, but I'm not quite sure how to answer like as many as we need really, long story short.
So the question derives from a video that I did probably 2 years ago when I was clearing things from home, and there was one day back in Manchester where I'm going round clearing things in the garden, and wherever I seemed to go there seemed to be a bucket, and that's where the question comes from. So to answer the question, Dave, Sandra, I don't know where the buckets went, I don't know how many she kicked, but the buckets came down to, I think we had about one, and since we've been here we bought 2 new buckets, so I think we're the proud owners now of 3 buckets from memory.
The only one that's mine specifically, I do have one specifically which is mine, I recall now, is for wool washing. So whenever Neil uses a bucket, it gets really dirty and mucky, and you're like, I can't really use that. So I have got one specifically clean one, which is just for washing wool.
So we've got 4 buckets. One of them is hidden. I don't know where it is. One day on the video, it will appear and it will come out. And as for the canes, Dave, I did have to go and buy some more canes for my runner beans that beaning up in the garden, so I've actually bought some canes from Skegness.
It was made of the sunflowers at the time.
It's a very tongue-in-cheek question from David. As I say, you'll never find that video. Even I can't remember what it was called, but there was one video wherever I seemed to go on this particular day was, oh, there's the Sandra's bucket. I'll go in the pantry. Oh, there's the Sandra bucket greenhouse. Oh, there's another. Where do all these buckets come from?
But they never were all mine. So.
They weren't mine. So that was from Killer Dave. Lisa Adkins. Thank you, Lisa, for your question. Apparently, we've inspired Lisa Atkins, who says we, so I presume she's got a partner or another half or husband or whatever. We inspired them to move to the countryside. So they've actually, from watching us, by the sounds of it, have done something similar. And the question is, how do we feel about the move from Manchester to Lincolnshire? And are we happier now? Now, as this goes out, Sandra's just done a very recent Sandra Makes video, which will answer some of that in a little bit more depth. But I did try to not talk too much on that video. So I'll let Sandra go first. So how do you feel about the move from Manchester to Lincolnshire? And would you say that we're happier now than we were in Manchester?
Yeah, I think that's quite easy to answer. To say, if you have a look at the Sandra Makes when I talk more about it, but I think for this stage in our lives and the way things were going and what we wanted to do and have quality time together and finding a way to do that without too much work pressure. We both always enjoyed the outdoors as well, haven't we? So yeah, absolutely, it was the right move. Very glad that we did it. It was quite hard work getting here, I'll be honest. So getting over that hump of getting everything in place that we needed to move. But now that we're here, especially a year in, it definitely feels like the right move, and really pleased that we did it, and definitely a better quality of life here. So that's the short version. Do you want to say a bit more, Neil?
So the question was, are we happier? I wasn't unhappy in Manchester. Obviously, I'd lived there for all of my 37 years, well 36, I'll be 37 on my birthday, but I lived in Manchester all my life and knew the area really, really well, especially the local area where we lived, the local history, and as I say, I was an elected councillor and involved with so many things and events and volunteering, and I was involved in it with an incredible amount of things. I had a very decent, successful business that I set up. So I was happy in Manchester, but things were changing. Things were happening organically around us. So I wouldn't say I was unhappy living in Manchester, but the quality of our lifestyle needed to change. And as I say, the one big thing was the urban sprawl and the loss of the green belt, and where we used to live, it was only on an old council estate and all the rest of it, but it was my mum and dad's house from new, and you can't stop things like the evolution of man and cars, but we had a lay-by across the way, and it got to a stage where we had some bungalows across the way for the over 55s, you know, they're really old people, and some of them were, let's say, able-bodied. They were able to walk from the road to their bungalow without any hindrance, and they wanted to take control of the lay-by and all the rest of it, and there was limited parking and cars were getting abandoned, and it was getting to a stage of you would sort of be getting home from work and you were parking. I'm not a million miles away, you know, being truthful, but it was becoming a problem.
Well, it was becoming the point where, so we had a lovely front garden there, which we'd worked on for years. And what most houses did on our street, because of the increased traffic issue, was dig up the garden and put down a driveway. But we really didn't want to do that. And then the only other option was, so we were on a bend, so you could only really park on the other side of the road, because otherwise you're on a sharp bend and even more risk of getting hit by traffic, which was increasingly getting more of it and faster. Yeah. And then you had a terrible time, didn't you, Neil? No,
so as I say, those I've been watching the video, one day I'd had a car crash, which was bad enough, and I'd got a brand new courtesy car that was parked in the lay-by, and he got written off, and I'm in the house, not even in the car, because of the thing. So I wasn't unhappy in Manchester, but the quality of life, let's say, you could see how it was affecting things.
We touched on the increasing windows, like say from about 7 in the morning till about 10 in the morning, and then about maybe 3 in the afternoon till probably 6:30 or 7. You couldn't depend on getting anywhere anytime fast because of the school run and the traffic and the congestion.
The commute, 3 hours each way. Yeah, the morning commute that would last 3 hours, and the afternoon commute. And is it a school problem? The answer is primarily yes, because when the school holidays are on, that commute, that traffic diminishes, and there's a lot of very lazy people out there, not being disrespectful, who instead of letting the children walk to school, or even the parent walking with the child to school, would drive a 5-minute walk. When Hannah was at a local school to us, I walked her to school every morning. Anyway, it was a 10-15 minute walk, something like that.
No more than 15 minutes.
Yeah, no more than 15 minutes. And all our neighbours, everybody, they just drove. So not only were the children not being taught that they can walk to school and have their independence, so as Hannah got a little bit older, I'd let her walk and meet her halfway back from school, so she was gaining her independence. But there's so many people were doing this whole school commute. And here again, we touched on Sandra's video. We've got some really big schools, and we have got parents who have to drive the children to school because of the rural locations, but we don't have that commute. There is no Bedlam. You go to work at 8 o'clock in the morning, you've got a 20-minute drive for 8 miles, and that commute would have taken Sandra an hour and a half each way. My commute to work is it's similar. It's not. It's a little bit longer.
I mean, your work situation was different, Neil, but I'm not exaggerating to say I felt like that whole the length of time, making my day so long. You're breathing in diesel fumes all the time doing this, and you arrive to work feeling rubbish because of it all. It really wasn't doing my health any good either, actually. No. It really wasn't.
You know, we tried public transport. The Metrolink system in Manchester was overcrowded, overrated and overrun by... It was rubbish, basically. During the day and at night, when it's quiet, fine.
That was part of it, but there was a specific issue with the shared line with the National Rail Network, and the section that I needed up as far as, I think, usually at least Timberley. That part was not functional far too often, and you'd be stranded and have to walk the last whatever. Or it was grim. It was grim.
Yeah, but the whole traffic, and as I say, the urban sprawl, and there's a scheme going on now. Basically, every single piece of green belt within the Greater Manchester authorities, the local administration, on most of the councils, they just want to destroy every single piece of green belt, and the green belt was put there for a reason. And then we come over here, and everywhere is so much more lush and green and quieter, apart from the idiot drivers. I don't like that. And life is completely different, isn't it? I don't think we'll ever explain. Those that understand where we're coming from will understand everything is slow. Every little village has got its own village hall still. All the village halls in Manchester, all the community centres, all of them demolished, got rid of. My old one in Timberley, the Timberley Community Centre, demolished. Everything demolished, and they were assets to the community, run by volunteers who never got a thank you for all of the volunteering that they did. And over here there's a sense of community.
Yeah, very much more so. So yeah, it's just I think as people, we're just not designed to live in huge masses of people. I've seen this a lot, like even places where I've worked, where it's a smaller setup, or a smaller research institute, a smaller school, or wherever it might be. Things just work better. I mean, from my point of view, the other issues having a bit with work was I used to work at University of Manchester, and I think it just got too big, and that was just not working as well as it should.
No, so you know, I wasn't unhappy in Manchester, but things needed to change, and we have now got a happier life. What's the saying? happy wife, happy life.
There may be some truth in that.
Heather JM, are we planning any new changes to the bungalow? Things like decorating, new furniture and things like that. Are we planning on any changes to the bungalow?
I know you've definitely got one plan, Neil. The toilet needs an upgrade.
So let's what first? So is there anything? Because we've done a lot of work on our first year, to be honest, to have got it to where we are now.
It was a lot of work last year. I mean, mostly happy with things as they are now. I mean, there's bigger, like really big jobs on my radar years ahead, but nothing really urgent for the short term.
No. So the furniture wise, we don't need any more furniture. We just lead a simple life. We've got great furniture. We inherited some of the furniture, and we've got a fantastic old oak, massive big table and chairs. The 3-piece suite we've got's great. It's the new bed we've got the fitted wardrobes. And as Sandra says, our toilet doesn't flush properly. I need a new toilet. I don't know, it's lime scale, but that's only 350, 400 quid to do, and that needs doing. At some stage we have spoken about putting a log burner in, whether that's be in the kitchen. If you ever notice, when we film outside, we've got 2 chimneys on our bungalow. So there's been 2 open fireplaces in the building. So we've got the kitchen, and we've also got the living room. My hunch, if ever we did do it, it would be in the living room, because that's sort of where we hunker down at night. And we had a log burner in our old property in the living room, and when it got too hot you could open the door and the heat would sort of go around. But the heat from a log burner I do miss, especially like drying clothes in winter and things. So, but I've been pleasantly surprised with how good the oil heating's been.
Yeah, as I say, I mean, so it needed a bit of TLC when we moved here, but it had quite a lot of work done on it, and we had new radiators last year, so it's working really well at the moment.
So this time last year I was talking about replacing the carpet tiles in the dining room, kitchen area, but I've got used to them. They're quite hard wearing. The whole carpet is okay. We've just recently bought a new.
Well, the new Vax has
Vax, we've got a Vax.
Well,
so we've been shampooing, especially with Rasha's fur. Is the biggest problem we have with the carpets is Rasha. She molts constantly. So the Vax, the new Vax we've got is bringing up these dog hairs. But I don't think we've got any major plans. The big one that we will do, I've just thought of one. All being well, this autumn, at the front of our property we've got wooden trellis fence panels. I am planning on putting a row of hedging in. So as we're recording this now, we're on a campsite where 40 years ago somebody planted some fantastic trees, and I think it would be amazing as a bit of a legacy to bring a hedgerow back to the front of our property.
Yeah, and it'd also help with any potential drainage issues, because we are in a bit of a dip, and it would help absorb any excess water as well, which would be good.
Okay, we're going to press on because I know we're taking a bit of time. I don't know if it's Louis or Lewis Thiel. Louis Thiel. You know who you are, Louis.
Probably Louis, but yeah.
I'm guessing it's Louis. Can you talk about the jobs that we've had? So that's our past careers. I'll let
You've done a lot.
Yeah, I'll let Sandra go first, and because I don't want to over bore you with my past, but you go first on that one. Your jobs and careers.
So I was done when I was young, all sorts of small bits and bobs, like cleaning jobs, and worked in a Turkish delight factory for a while. I worked in a grain merchants for a short time, so various bits and bobs. But I suppose the first, what I'd call proper job after finishing my degree in Norwich, was I got a job as a research assistant at the John Innes Institute, as it was then, and spent 11 years there working on studying the genetic control of the flowering of plants, which I enjoyed a lot. I had a great time down there, really good times there. And then I decided at a certain point that I would like to move back to Manchester, so I found a job back at Manchester University when I was about 33, 34-ish. And then so on and off, mainly I worked back at University of Manchester doing, but yeah, various different roles within that, like mostly research support, lab management and things like that. Later on got more into a bit of health and safety, gases, pipeworks, infrastructure, heating systems, and then biology, health and safety advisor before we moved over here to Lincolnshire. So that's my work kind of general thing. And then I've done it supporting Neil as well, so did for many years supported the online web posting, web design company that Neil ran for quite a long time, which is still going and ticking over in a small way.
And where are you now?
Yeah.
Career-wise, you not mentioned your current job.
Well, as I say, just so since I moved, so I'm back in lab, but supporting school labs now.
And plenty of school holidays. Right, I'm going to try and railroad through this one as quickly as I can. I've worked all my life. I've never claimed any benefits, or as you say, I've never been on the dole or anything like that. I've always paid my way. We don't have debts. We don't spend what we haven't got. I've had mortgages in the past. I've had another 2 wives in the past. But I've always believed in paying my way and working hard. So, at 15, it was pretty well expected, with my lack of qualifications, that I'd end up working for what used to be called direct works, working for the council. And that wasn't to be. I found a job in a colour laboratory, a photographic colour laboratory. This is going to sound really weird, but colour film was a relatively new thing back in the 70s. I left school on the Friday and I started work on the Monday for a company called Cheshire Colour Labs, which at the time was a very forward processing company.
So I'm just going to pause you briefly there, but I'm just thinking back to the 70s, but who remembers if it didn't go quite like with the colour processing, your coloured pictures would come out more brown looking than coloured.
Yeah, so I learnt the ropes of colour photographic processing, EP2, EP4, C41, E6. People that know what I'm talking about will know what I'm talking about, including chemistry control and densitometers and some pretty sophisticated equipment at the time. We had a VCNA, a video colour negative analyzer. We ended up with an IBM mainframe computer system. And to cut a long story short, I worked my way up the ranks, and by the time I was 19-ish, I'd become a supervisor and a key holder, and I was looking after shifts. And by the time I was 21, has risen all the way up within the company with like internal promotions and internal works that we were doing. I ran my own department in the end, which was large printing. Print sizes up to 30 inches by 40 inches on photographic paper. 1 hour photos came out. The company I was working for, Cheshire Colour Labs, were one of the very first 1 hour shops in the country, and I ended up managing that. By the time I was 22, 23, I was managing a 1 hour shop, and I saw a job advertised for a 40+ year old, someone that was significantly older than me, for a company called Photo Processing, to open up their first 1 hour processing lab in Manchester. I applied for the job, I had an interview, I got the job, and I went from a pretty rubbish salary to an absolute incredibly well-paid shop, well-paid job. So I was the manager at Brown Street in Manchester. Then age 24, I thought I could set up my own business. By the time I was 25, I went into partnership with my brother-in-law, set up a company called BT Photographic, Barlow Taylor, And the reason it was Barlow Taylor, not Taylor Barlow, is you were higher up in the listings on the phone book and Yellow Pages because you were the letter B. And my business grew and grew and grew, and I ended up with 15 staff.
Who remembers the Yellow Pages?
Yeah, the Yellow Pages. 15 staff working for me. I had a secondary shop in Macclesfield with a 1-hour machinery in it. I had an amateur lab, I had a pro laboratory and a pro am laboratory, C41 equipment, E6. I had lots to do with photographic, and eventually became Kodak's largest independent purchaser of photographic paper. That'll give you some idea of the amount of work we were doing. Unfortunately, along the line, I ended up getting divorced and ended up with another wife, and other things happened. And then in 2005, I ended up separating again in life. A lot was going on in the photographic industry. Things were changing. Digital was coming along. Mobile phones were coming along. For the first time ever, our film intake, what we were processing, had dripped. The company had grown and grown and grown, and it suddenly reached a peak, and it was going down a little bit. Things were changing. I ended up getting involved in politics for a number of reasons. I was at the age of about 40, if I was that old, and I decided to give 5 years of my life back to the local community. To cut a long story short,
Ended up being a lot more than 5 years, Neil. Really.
it did end up being a lot more than 5 years. To cut a long story short, I ended up meeting Sandra in, I think, the January of 2006. I then went on to, it was chaotic. I was volunteering everywhere and still running BT Photographic as a partnership. I got myself elected in the May 2006. By the August, Sandra basically turned around and said, you're gonna end up dead with a heart attack with all the stress I was under and everything. So I dissolved the partnership without any idea at all to what we were then going to do. Then came the interesting thing, because it all ended up a bit of a role reversal. So Sandra went back to work full time, and I ended up becoming the house husband, but still maintaining some part-time jobs. I'd got a small IT company doing web design, web hosting, IT solutions, fixing computers. But I also then ended up, let me just try and remember everything now, I ended up working as a mad scientist after school club. I was a cellarman for a number of years.
Couple of years, maybe.
Yeah. I was an elected council member. I did a number of what I would call small part-time jobs, and sort of brought up Hannah, and Sandra went back to working at the uni. Then in 2014 I lost my seat. I worked for 2 care companies.
After 8 years, yeah.
Yeah, three care companies.
I think that was after you finished as a counsellor, though. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
so you needed something. I mean, the council income, it was only like a allowance. It wasn't like a proper job, but it was still a bit of income. When we lost that was when you started the care work. So get a bit of income coming in again.
No. Yeah. So then I went on then to give all of that lot up, and then trying to get state. There was a guy across the way from where we live called Wayne. Some of you will have met him, a disabled guy with cerebral palsy, and I ended up becoming his PA for 4 years. Which was also bringing in a trickle of money, and Sandra was bringing in a trickle of the regular wage, and I was still bringing in some money coming in from the web design and these other side hustles that I'd got going. Along that way, I ended up with, I'm not going to go into details, I ended up with a bit of a health scare. The word cancer and being, how do you describe this? Sorry. Facing up that I may not
be here forever.
I may not be here for long, let's say, came about, and it all worked out. And then the whole Let's Become a Campsite. Trapper 561 asks, what else do you want to do on the house? We've just pretty well covered that on a previous question, so I don't think we'll spend any time on that.
Not a lot of time, but I'd say long term things like the roof's quite old, but it's fine for now, so no immediate plans.
No. So I think we've already answered
we
that.
touched on other bits.
Yeah. Annie Steele 248. Who inspired you, past and present, and would you change anything? Go on, Sandra. Who's it? If you had inspired by anybody?
Well, yeah. I mean, don't want Neil to start ranting, ideally, but you know, we have different views on some things. But going way back, I was always quite inspired by the writings of somebody called Noam Chomsky. So he's what I'd consider probably one of the last great intellectuals now. Like, it's a different era now, and everything's like very fast-paced and short sentences and short sound bites and bang, bang, bang. But he wrote some quite insightful stuff about world politics, but you know, properly evidence-based and informed and given sources, like properly done, really. So I think that was always quite an inspiration for me, not to jump to conclusions, but to dig a bit deeper and be careful about sources and where's your information coming from, what's the real agenda. So I'm definitely inspired by Noam Chomsky. And sorry, Neil, but I do really like David Attenborough. I think this has been quite an inspirational figure, and certainly inspired my own daughter to very passionate about nature and conservation and looking after the planet.
I've never really been inspired by anybody, if I'm absolutely honest. I've enjoyed music. Music's always been a very important part of my life. Bands and music and lyrics, and some of the content of songs have maybe inspired me somewhat, especially dark music, dark lyrics, meaningful lyrics, but I've never really been inspired. As a young boy, you'll have probably seen a video now of us staying on a former campsite, scout campsite. I absolutely could lose myself in adventures, the likes of Enid Blyton, the author, the famous 5, the famous 7 books. I could absolutely lose myself in adventures, going off over farmland with picnics on my own and wanting to camp by streams. Well, I did camp very young age, actually. Robinson Crusoe, I absolutely loved the whole living adventures and living outside, and I did it. I became a campsite warden. I actually did it. So Enid Blyton,
maybe along those lines. I think people mostly know about. I'm back to playing the flute. I played a lot of flute when I was younger. I'm back to playing flute now. But the inspiration behind that was I was inspired by James Galway back in the time to learn to play flute.
Yeah. So I've never really been inspired. You know, I love John Lennon. I grew up like many people of my age, with the Beatles in the background, and I think John Lennon had quite a bit of a vision. He was very similar age to my brother. Unfortunately, I lost my brother many years ago. And I sometimes wonder, if John Lennon was alive, would he have become would he have been radicalised with some of his views? Because some of them were a little bit extreme back then. I don't know, where would he be, sort of thing. But no, I've not really ever particularly looked up to somebody. I respect my parents and my family and aunties and uncles and my grandparents. You know, I was instilled to volunteer, to work, and to give and not to take. So, you know, perhaps my parents were also an inspiration. And I've taken a leaf out of my dad's book. My dad was never career-minded as I've got older. My dad just wanted to go to work, get his wage, have a pint after work, and go to bed. And as I've got older, I've think that I've wanted now just to go to work at a time and finish at a certain time.
What was the second
She
part
says,
of that question?
would you change anything?
In what? I'm a bit not.
I don't know.
Think in what context,
in the past.
In the past.
So I don't think I would change anything. I think life is we've been dealt a really good set of cards, and sometimes we haven't known where we're going to be or how we've got here, and you know, we've had worrying times, haven't we? But we've been dealt a set of cards. The only thing that I would do differently, or the one thing that I haven't done, and I'm not going to, I've never managed a band. I've pretty well done everything else I've always wanted to do. I've never managed a band. So if I could change anything, I at some stage, when I was a bit younger, band management, I helped manage a band called Magenta back in the day, who did very, very well, but I never actually single-handedly managed a band.
I think the main thing I would have changed personally, going way back when I was young, was I was the youngest in my school year anyway, and I was under some pressure for various reasons to go to university straight away, and my gut feeling was to take a year out and work for a year and then go to university, and I do regret not actually doing that, to be honest. It caused a few issues in my life doing that, but apart from that, nothing too major. But then I had good opportunities after that, so it worked out okay in the end. And like with our life and everything in life in general, I think I got a much stronger faith in my 40s, knowing what I know now.
Well, we're going to come to that in a minute.
I mean, like with issues now, like you do your best, you do what you can, and then you leave the rest with God, basically. It's a bit more like that. So I think I slightly regret not finding God sooner. But yeah, apart from that, no big regrets.
I am your personal God. You could worship me.
No.
I've also been blessed with. I'm not going to go into detail. Some of the people that I've met along the way, and I won't call it inspiration, but I know what a lot of people out there would call celebrities. So when I met Sandra, I'd say, "Oh, I know this person, I know that person," and if you didn't actually know me, you think I'm bullshitting with some of the people that I know, for various reasons, with some of the connections that I've got with, in inverted commas, famous people, and I've had a very full life. I've done some amazing things. I've held a Clubman's RAC rally licence. I've done rally driving, racing, up to fairly recent years, up to Sandra years. I always had a motorbike. Anyway, that's going there. We're waffling. Victoria Howarth 2651. Victoria, butterflies. What would you tell the 20-year-olds? To ourselves. So if you met a 20-year-old Sandra, I think she means what sort of advice would you give her?
Yeah.
Give a 20-year-old Sandra or a 20-year-old Neil? What would you tell a 20-year-old Sandra?
I think again, well, the big thing I learned a bit too late was I used to be quite an anxious person, and it felt as if things would go wrong unless I got very stressed and worried about everything. And then I got into my 30s and I was like, oh, this is not... So anyway, I stopped getting so stressed and worried about things, and life still went okay. So the main thing I say is don't worry too much, just take it a bit as it comes, and it'll be fine, don't worry. Yeah.
And if I met a very young, very skinny 20-year-old Neil, I would contradict myself to some extent. Appreciate what you've got, don't wreck it. So how long have you been together?
It's about 18 years, maybe 19.
A long time. So I went through two marriages, and the first one was I'd become something that I wasn't. I ended up being a bit of a Jack the Lad and had a few quid in my pocket, and That resulted in a marriage ending. We're still friends, and I got a beautiful son and beautiful children from past relationships. Perhaps I would have said, hold what you've got. But if I had passed that advice on to a young Neil, and I had not altered the path that I took, I wouldn't be with Sandra, and I'd probably be in Manchester, and I'd probably be very ill, to be honest. So through things happening, we ended up together. So that would be some bad advice.
Well, maybe, but maybe previous relationships might have gone better.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway.
Yeah, but if they had done, if I stayed with my first wife, I was only going to have one child. I wouldn't have had Lee and Lucy, and again later in life when I met Sandra with Hannah and the extended family we've got. So I'd have said, I would have said to a young Neil, just appreciate what you've got. Don't become a bit cocky. What business people do when they become successful, or what some do, you get to a stage where you think you're invincible. You've got the Midas touch. It's like being a pop star, isn't it? It's like being a pop star. You don't ever get a #1 single. Ever get a #1 single. Because once you've had your #1 single, you can only ever go down. You've reached the top. You've reached the peak. You can only go down. You may get another #1, but you can't stay there forever. You worked hard for it. And I did become a bit of a #1 in an industry and work, and I ended up literally as high as I could, and then the only way there on is down.
Certainly when I met you, Neil, because you were living that way all the time, I don't think you could realise it yourself, but your stress levels were absolutely through the roof. That's why I was advising Neil, something's got to give before your health gives, because you were just on edge and on top adrenaline all the time, and you were as thin as a rake, and
still thin, slim, skinny.
Yeah, so I think quality of life is sometimes better than a fast pace of life, maybe.
Yeah, and I may have also said, don't take on unnecessary responsibilities. I was always a person that would go to a voluntary group, and within 6 months of the year, the next thing you know, you become the chairperson, and
I think you did used to struggle to say no sometimes.
Say no, but sometimes they say, ask the most busiest person, the person with the most on the plate, and they're the doers. So, hope that's answered that question. It's a good question. I've got something here called Mama Smithy. We have done a full video on this about how we met and about our children, and you need to go and find that. But the question is, how many children do we have, and where were you born before your Manchester life?
Oh, okay. So, in fact, I was born in Manchester. So I lived in South Manchester area until I was 18. Basically went to university, East Anglia University in Norwich, and then lived there for 15 years altogether in the end, before eventually moving back to Manchester. Part of the reason was, I don't know too long, but my own dad was getting older by then and needed a bit more support, so it felt like the right thing to move back and be around for my dad, which I'm glad I did, as I was really precious memories. And then I just have, of my own, I just have my one daughter, Hannah, who'll be 25 quite soon.
Okay, so I was born in Manchester. I was born in Withington Hospital, and lived in a place called Hale, H-A-L-E, in, I still call it Cheshire, but it's sort of on the suburbs of Manchester, and it became into Greater Manchester, and then I never really moved from that area, Hale and Timperley. I never moved away until came here, so I lived local all of my life. I've got one boy, Simon, who's going to be 35 this year, from my first marriage. My second marriage, I've got Lucy, who's a millennium baby, same age as Hannah. She is 25. And then I've got Lee, who is currently 24, and he will be 20. No, he's 23. He'll be 24 in October. So between us, we've got 4 children who, all of them, have got on amazingly well. Hannah, Lucy and Lee, because they're all similar age. Sam was a bit older, grew up sort of together. We came camping and on holidays together, and there was a special bond. And I often, well, virtually all the time, I always refer to Hannah as being my daughter. We've always got on really, really well, and you know, same with you with my children. It's always been a close little family we've got.
Yeah, I think it was important for both of us when we did get together that we treat all the children as our children. So we've tried to do that as best we can, haven't we?
Yep. And we've got something called Jamie Parker 32. Jamie, thanks for sending in the question. Everybody else that sent in the questions, fantastic, and thanks ever so much for sending these questions in to us. This is a really good question, and I'm going to let you again go first on it. If you could visit one place in the UK, where would it be? You can visit one place in the United Kingdom. Where would it be?
Yeah, I think I would go back to Coniston Old Man.
Lake District.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Okay, so that question is.
We were trying not to cry, but
yeah,
it was the last proper. Sorry. I was very close to my dad. It was the last proper hill walk that we did together when he still could.
So it's a two question one, because he's got where if you could visit one place in the UK, where would it be? So that could mean what new place would you like to visit, rather than where have you visited that's got the best memories. So is there anywhere in the UK that you would like to visit?
Well, that
you haven't visited, a district, a borough, or a shire, or
that I haven't been to. I'm not sure. Do you want to answer your bit and I'll have a think?
So, my go-to place, and I've been fortunate that I've managed to take Sandra there, is Cornwall. Was a very special place for me as a boy. I had a cousin over there and spent a lot of time in Cornwall, a place called Newlyn, just outside Penzance. And when I say a long time, I mean literally 6 weeks holidays, summer holidays and other holidays, and I was allowed to I can't believe my mother and father let me do this. I was allowed to go. I went out during the day, and as long as I came home at night in one piece, I was allowed to do whatever I wanted to do, and fishing off Newlyn Harbour and crabbing, and then going to St Ives and Perranporth and surfing and being in those big Atlantic waves. I absolutely adore Cornwall, and as I say, we have had a couple of holidays there, haven't we? And I went with Hannah a couple of years back. So Cornwall has got a lot of memories for me. And as far as a place that I don't really know too well, so I didn't know Lincolnshire. Lincolnshire, if I'm honest. So we've discovered Lincolnshire, and I tell you what, if you don't know Lincolnshire, there is a lot to this area. I'm guessing the only other place that I've not really been to is Devon. You know, I've sort of worked my way all down the west coast. We've never really done Scotland, but it's in England, and I've done most of Wales. I'm guessing the higher islands in Scotland, the real top end of Scotland, in the real remote places, would be nice. But in England, I think it would be Devon, and and if it was generally within Great Britain, I think the Higher Hebrides are the top. I've been to Oban and Skye, you know. Yeah, one adventure that I would like to do, and I did this once from Manchester. Was we did a sleeper train, an overnight sleeper train to Oban.
All right.
And you can do the sleeper train, can't you, from London? That'd be quite an adventure. That'd be an adventure to do, maybe one day.
Yeah, there's a few places I'd like to go that I haven't been, but I think at the top of my list would also be the Outer Hebrides. So just never spent time up there. I mean, we were taken up there when I was a child, but I'm literally talking almost babes in arm, small child. So I just don't remember at all. So it'd be nice to go and remember going.
So never say never on this as we get older, and as we perhaps get some time together. I don't think I would go up there in a motorhome or a camper van. I think if we did do that, I think a car journey with some bed and breakfasts or hotels or something.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want the hassle of campsites or anything like that. But maybe we can. I think, in fact, you know what? We will make that happen. It may be 5 years away, some time away, but maybe because that's a place that we've never discussed that before, have we?
No.
That's never even been discussed before. So. Thank you for that question. Sorry, who was it? Jamie. You've actually possibly just inspired us to have a vision as we get time to go and have a road trip at some stage when we can go away for a month, have some midgy season and go and discover. I used to have a work colleague, Cecil, in. Oh, what's the island? In the Shetlands. I wonder if I can track down an old workmate of mine in the Shetland Islands. Yeah, well, that'd be pretty epic, wouldn't it? And do some of the ferries and all the little hidden islands and everything. Right, we're going to carry on these questions and answers that were sent in. So the clips you've just been watching were filmed a wee while back. But we had some other questions sent to us by Andrea, Martin and Freddie in Huddersfield. Yep. So I said we'll bolt this on to the other one. Obviously this is going to be quite a long video now. But they've just sent in some what we hope are going to be fairly quick answers. So they've asked one of the questions is, when am I going to be 38? I'm not. I'm saying 37 forever because I can't. So yeah. So I'm every birthday, which is going to be March, I'm going to be 37. That's answered that. That's pretty simple, isn't it?
Again.
What do you mean again?
37 again.
I'm not old like you, 60. Oh, Jesus Christ, that's seriously old. 30. So I'm staying 37 forever.
Heart.
Yeah. So I hope that's answered that one. And I've also got one here now that says, will Barbara be visiting you again soon, as it's nice to see Barbara? So Sandra has just returned from a trip to Manchester.
I have.
So you can explain that you've just seen Barbara. How is she, and update?
So my mum's fine. Okay. So when the weather was cool, I'd just started this new job and it was pretty busy and I was pretty tired, to be honest. And then now that it's summertime, it's too hot for my mum really, so she doesn't cope too well. Well, she never has coped too well when it's very hot. So we're going to have to weather watch, and then hopefully at some point when it's not so hot, she might feel up to visiting. But at the moment, she's staying put, which is, to be honest, a sensible thing.
So Barbara, you may see Barbara up here. We did have a possible offer of one of Sandra's brothers bringing her. But our job circumstances have changed a lot in the last 12 months. I've got, what about Lucy and Caden? Will you see them and will they visit you soon? And also Hannah. So Hannah was here a couple of weeks ago.
She was, and I saw Hannah when I was back in Manchester. Did get in touch with Lucy, but didn't manage to catch up last time, but hopefully soon. But yeah, they're all doing fine, and Do you want to speak about Caden?
And all being well, by the time you see this, Caden will have come to our Lincolnshire home with his other nana, Julie. So, yeah, it's quite hard for everybody at home to keep tracks of what we're keeping tracks with back in Manchester, including Simon, my eldest son, who we're also going to be catching up with. But by the time you've watched this, you'll have seen that we've caught up with them.
So we are in regular touch, but being quite so far away, it's not as easy to catch up as it was in person, but we are in regular touch, aren't we?
Next question, we'll probably start with you on this one. Do you both enjoy your jobs? My last job was a TA, teaching assistant, in a primary school, so I do know school jobs are or can be demanding for Sandra. That's coming from Andrea. Talking, and that was over 10 years ago.
So I am enjoying it. It's a little bit different from a TA job because I'm the nice lady with the trolley. So I'm a skill technician, science technician. So yeah, it is really busy. It's really full on when I'm in, but I am enjoying it.
And you're experiencing your first year of school holidays.
Yeah, so I hadn't quite appreciated because I didn't start till last December, but at that school you get 2 weeks, October half term.
Half term, that sounds really weird when you say half term's always because you're halfway through the term, and when I was at school I could never understand why half term was always all the time. My job is going fine, and again I've said a number of times that I don't go into what my job is for confidentiality reasons. Some of you locally will know what I do via social media and things like that. But the job that I'm doing as an outreach worker is going good. It's come together work-wise, which is really bizarre because a year ago we had no idea what we were going to be doing.
It was looking a bit hairy a year ago, to be fair, but anyway, we got there in the end.
Yeah. Neil, forever the optimist. I said things would work out, and so I only work a lot shorter hours to Sandra, but Sandra has a lot more holidays, if that makes any sense. So it sort of balances itself out. So we're both, technically speaking, compared to if we were back in Manchester, we're working less.
Which was the plan.
Yeah, which was the plan, is what we were trying to do. When are you thinking about coming up to the northeast coast?
Ooh.
So I love the northeast coast. Obviously, spent some time in Northumberland and went over. What was that park? What was it? But something on sea where the dolphins were. Not from Newcastle.
I do remember.
Well, I can't remember.
We had a seaside outdoor gym, not that place. Or a different one.
No, it's where the two people were on the gantry out in the sea. Anyway, we absolutely love the northeast coast, but the problem we've got now is obviously I now have holidays, so we're limited to how much time we can get off. But we will do at some stage.
But also, I feel at the moment there's so much to explore near where we live.
Yeah.
So there's just so much to do here. I'm not feeling a strong pull to explore other parts of the country right at the moment.
As I'm recording this second take, we're in the middle of summer now, full-blown holiday season, and there is an incredible amount of things that are on with carnivals and fates and activities and things opening up and fireworks and laser shows. There's a jousting session at the horse place next weekend. Sorry, completely off topic. There are so many things that we're only experiencing for the first time.
It's the weekend after, but I'll be away.
Yeah.
You can go.
Anyway, so, but we did allude earlier in here that at some stage, as time goes forward, when we get a bit more time to ourselves, we'll do a little bit more exploring. Do you have any hobbies, Neil? We know Sandra likes knitting, bell ringing, crafting, folk nighting. Bending's Neil ear. pinching things out of Neil's garden. It's here.
He's making it up now.
Yeah, that's a sort of good question.
Yeah, Neil's hobby is bending my ear is nearer the truth.
Rolex. So, I've never really been one for hobbies. I've been one for keeping myself busy, often by volunteering and doing organisational things.
Come on, this is your hobby now.
But I mean, I enjoy. I enjoy content creation and the editing. That side of it has become a definite hobby. But one thing that I do want to do next year is possibly renew my fishing rod licence.
Please do.
So if you're out of the UK and you're watching this, to actually own a fishing rod, you have to have a licence. And possibly to take up angling again, coarse angling. So I was never mad on that, but we've got so many campsites around here with lakes that I wouldn't mind.
You did enjoy it when you did it a few years ago.
That's good. How big was the sort of fish I used to catch, Sandra? Big fish, probably like. I'm not joking.
Seriously, yeah, genuinely. Big fish.
But yeah, and apart from that,
just put them back in case anybody's worried.
Yeah,
had this before, like. The fish are okay. You just put them back in the water and they're fine.
Yeah, coarse fishing. I have got a couple of work colleagues who do coarse fishing. Sea angling, which I've never been. I've done sea angling on a boat, but I've never done beach casting. That's the word I'm looking for. Who do beach casting, which I've never ever done. So maybe something like that. But yeah, no. I mean, I'm constantly busy. I'm always busy. Even when I'm not busy, I'm busy.
And then he tries to make me extra work because he's bored. I have enough jobs of my own.
I think I've shown
enough hobbies of my own.
I've shown everybody at home how green my fingers are and how good I am at growing things. So
good at bragging. Something
like that, yeah. I was going to try and get Lee to answer this, and maybe I'll get him on another vlog. But does Lee like his Lincolnshire life? Another question that's come in is also, how's Lee liking his Lincolnshire life? So I'm going to come off camera because we need to do an interview with you, don't we? Proper good style. Lee, how's your Lincolnshire life?
It's good.
What do you like about it?
I'm going for walks.
Being in the countryside?
Yeah. And
it's quite remote where we are, but there's quite a lot of wildlife.
Yeah.
So I know you've mentioned in the past, but you've had encounters with animals, haven't you?
Yeah.
Well, name some animals what you've met.
Deers and peacocks, encounters with badgers. I think that's it.
Ducks in the back garden?
Yeah.
Apparently we had a baby rabbit in our back garden.
Yeah.
Pheasant in our back garden.
Yeah.
And...
Hedgehog.
Oh, and the hedgehog in recent times. Yeah, he's been in the back of the shed, hasn't he? And the very first time you saw a peacock, because I hadn't seen one before. What was it like?
I was just confused. I didn't know what was going on. Didn't expect it in England.
So did you think the peacock had like escaped from a a big country house? You didn't expect to see wild peacocks. Yeah. So you've actually explored a massive circumference from where we are, haven't you? Over the fields and everything. And it's a slower pace of life and everything like that, but you're enjoying it.
Yeah.
Right, so you heard it first from Lee. I think Lee's become quite integral into our videos. You've seen a rebrand that we've done and things like that. And quite several times would you move back to Manchester, Lee, and Lee's quite categorically seems quite happy with where he is. But maybe I'll try and just get a snippet sometime off Lee to actually ask that question. But it's all a bit weird that when we were originally planning our new Lincolnshire life, Lee wasn't in that equation initially, and Babara was. And then Babara took herself out of the equation, and Lee came into the equation, isn't it? But and obviously the other extensions to the family are Romeo and Juliet, who are great, aren't they?
We're hoping at some point there might be baby Romeos and baby Juliets.
Sorry, we're quite submissive now. We've got hedgehogs in the garden, and hedgehogs are creatures of habit. And I don't know how long they're going to keep coming for before they hibernate over winter, which I think is going to be end of September, October time, isn't it? They always say bonfire night. Check your bonfires for hedgehogs. So we'll wait and see. So we just wanted to include those questions on before. So in case you're watching this now and you go, hang on a minute, you were outside recording while you were inside. That's the reason why. Do feel free to ask us any further questions in the comments below. If you're able to, we may do another one of these. Who knows? But if you do have any other questions that we've not answered, they're free to fire away.
Do you have other hobbies, by the way, like wine making and preserving?
Wine making.
Yeah. Well, why are you saying it like that? My wine is very good.
Please, wine down
my
my
wine
ear.
is legendary.
Anyway,
Got
for that,
into bottle soon.
For that, keep up with Sandra Makes.
Exactly.
Right, thanks for watching. It's been a very, very, very long video, that one, but I hope it's answered some question and it's given you a bit of an insight into us, and especially with our new Lincolnshire life. If you wanted to give the video a like, that would be absolutely wonderful. We love to read your comments. And if you've not already done so, you can subscribe down there below on some devices. Well, not all, but some. Say goodbye, Sandra.
Bye for now.
Thank you for watching.